Okay, by now you've probably had plenty of time to run Linux on your computer in live CD mode or live USB mode, and you've been able to make use of the software that's installed on there, looked at the file system, and tried out hooking up to the internet and so on. All of those things that you normally would do on your regular XP computer, you can do with Linux. I hope that none of you have run into any trouble, and we're going to go on to the next step. I figure by now that you're comfortable enough with Linux that you want to actually install it on your computer. And so we're going to install Linux on your own computer in what they call a dual boot mode. Dual boot means that your hard drive is going to be divided into two sections, two partitions. One of them is going to have all of your Windows stuff on it. You're not going to touch any of your Windows files, and in fact your computer can still boot up to Windows if you want to. And then the other part of the hard drive will have Linux. It will be formatted in a different way, and actually when you run Windows it won't even show up. Instead, Windows won't even know it's there. Linux, on the other hand, will still be able to access all the files that you have on the Windows side. It's able to open up that drive, and you can navigate through the file system and find all of your documents and everything in place and try them out on the Linux side using LibreOffice or any of the other programs that we have pre-installed. So this is dipping a toe into the water, sort of more of a commitment, but not so much. So we're going to try this out, and it'll be a lot of fun. So now we're at the boot screen again. You can see we can press F2 to enter setup, which is what we'll do now. This is the BIOS setup screen, and there's a boot menu over here, so I'll use the right arrow key to go towards it. And here we have the order in which the different devices will boot up, and CD-ROM drive is number 3. So I'm going to use, in this case, the plus key, or I'm going to arrow down to it, then the plus key to bring it to the top of the list. Oh, okay, there we go. And now we can exit the setup menu, exit to save changes, confirm yes, and now we're starting up again. And the CD should start. There we are. And so now we're running Zorin on the CD. This is our boot menu again for Zorin. So you can run the installer directly instead of first booting up to the live CD as we had done before. So we're going to run it directly and install right away. So we're starting up. And you can decide what language you're using. We're using English, so I'll click on continue. And now it's saying that I need to have 6.9 gigabytes of available space on the drive, and it's good if I'm connected to the internet. I'm not connected, but I'm not going to worry about it just yet. So we'll click continue again. And now we have some options for installation. The first one is to install Zorin alongside Windows XP. And the next one is to completely wipe the hard drive and replace Windows with Zorin. This will actually delete everything, including all of your data. So unless you have made a complete backup of everything, I don't recommend it. The last one, something else, I'm not going to explain about. But we're going to install alongside. Now this is showing us the structure of your hard drive, or proposed structure. First off, you only have one hard drive on your computer. And then it says you can allocate drive space. I can decide how much space is taken up by Windows, which is the first portion of the drive, how much space I will use for Linux, for Zorin. And the program is proposing to make a reasonably even split. But let's see, if we drag this way over here, it shows that I have a minimum of 7 gigabytes that I have to put for Windows. Windows and all of my documents takes up that much space. And on the other side, I have a minimum of the 6.9 gigabytes. That's what Zorin claims that it will need. So I'm going to make a decision how I'll divide this up, and what I'd like to do is leave a reasonable amount of space for Windows, but mostly go with Zorin. So I'm dividing it like this: 20 gigabytes for Windows to continue to work, and 44 or so for Zorin-OS, because I'm going to use that primarily on this computer from here on out. I'll just use Windows once in a while. We'll click Install, and it's giving me a warning saying that this is where you commit. If I do this, then I can't really undo it. So we'll hit continue, and now I have to say where I am, or what time zone I'm in. Eastern time, I'm in New Mexico, so I click Mountain Time, and usually that means Denver. Alright, now it's asking me what kind of keyboard I'm using. I'm using a US English keyboard. And now this part where I create an account. I'll put in my name, or some kind of user's name. First name Zorin, last name user. My computer's name, this is the name that the computer will use to identify itself on the network. I will change this name a little bit. Zorin 6 VMX, to show that it's Zorin version 6. Take a username as Zorin, that's good. Use a password. I'll write down a password, not actually a very good password. I cannot emphasize enough how you should write down this password and keep it someplace safe, because there's no password hint. Now, we can choose to log in automatically every time you run the computer. That's if you're the only user, that's not bad. Require a password to log in. If this computer will be used by multiple people, then it's good to require a password. And then I can have it encrypt all my data. It'll use the password as the encryption key, I think, or at least as the basis of the key. If I lose my password, then there's no way to recover my data. I'm not going to do this. So we'll go to continue. And here we go. It's going to start copying files, repartitioning the hard drive, doing things like that, and I get this nice little slideshow. And this is not a bad little thing to have. So let's go through the slides. This is showing you the software center. You can download, search for and download all kinds of free software. This is also where you would be able to uninstall software. There's some minor customization available for look and feel. Yeah, not very important. They offer to allow you to buy music for the Rhythm Box music player. They also have the Ubuntu One music store that is no longer working. Here's the Shotwell photo manager, and you also have the GIMP image editor that's kind of like Adobe Photoshop. And this is showing you LibreOffice, the Office Application Suite. And here's some stuff about using Ubuntu One, which has been shut down, so we're not using Ubuntu One anymore. Next, it's showing you the web browser. Google Chrome is the default browser, but you can actually install any number of other ones, Firefox and so on. Here are some other social media applications that are already installed on Zorin. This is your Thunderbird email client, and you can do things like download Skype if you wanted to use Skype. And for help, you can go to the user forums. The user forums are actually pretty friendly, so I do recommend using them. So now we'll wait for it to finish installing. This is actually taking a very long time, but I'm cutting it short. And now that it's complete, we can restart the computer. I'll have to remember to go back into my setup and tell it not to boot from the CD anymore, because I'm booting from the hard drive. So once it starts up again, I will make sure to go back into setup to do that.